Good afternoon, students.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, very good evening. So we'll start the various effects of taxation on production and consumption and distribution. So during the last class, we have just discussed about the outline of whether the taxation is which reflects on a positive way, or it is reflecting on in a negative way. But in practice, the taxation of the government will influence on both positive and negative ways. In somewhere it will be influences in a positive way, and somewhere it will influence on the negative way. And we'll see what are the first the impact. I mean, the negative impact will happen. Suppose when the government is imposing the taxation, immediately that negative impact only will fall in place, because anyway the taxation, as you all people agreed that the taxation is the optimum taxation, levying an optimum taxation is good for the economy, so that the government can collect money and they can use it for various welfare measures, or they can use it for the public expenditure purposes. But while the in the first instance of imposing the taxation, that it will impress a negative situation to the common people, and where it is and all, the immediate impact will happen. That immediate impact will happen on the ability to work of the people. And second one, it is effect on or impact on ability to save good the amount of money. And thirdly, it is impact on the ability to invest. And we'll see what is the ability to work, ability to save, and ability to invest. And these three components which influences, or these three components are the elements of the production, where the people are efficiently working and where they are working more. That means the output will be efficient, output will be more. And where the people are having more ability to save, that savings will be used for investment and used for consumption, and it will be used for further production, so that the production will be high. And where the people's ability to invest more is high, that investment will generate more employment opportunities in the economy, and that employment will provide more income to the people, and that income will generate more consumption. So these processes, macroeconomic processes, will happen in the economy. While we are talking about this ability to work, when the imposition of taxes on various goods and services, the imposition of taxes on direct taxes will immediately affect by reducing the disposable income of the people. Suppose the direct tax like income tax increase, then automatically the disposable income will decline. Sir, okay, if it is direct taxes, what will happen to the indirect taxes, value-added taxes, and GST? Yes, of course, when you are buying certain commodities at low price, when after the taxation, after the revised taxes or increased taxes, when your income remains constant, the amount of money allocated for the purchase of those goods and services will come down. The value of the money will come down because of the prices of the goods and services will increase due to the imposition of more taxes. So because of this decline in the disposable income or the net income, the buyers, the consumers' buying capacity or the purchasing power or potential to buy the commodity or the consumption expenditure will decline. And if the consumption expenditure is declined, one way it is reducing the standard of living of the people, because previously I used to consume more commodity for consumption. Now I could not able to consume because of the tax increase. I was about to buy the car, but now because of the taxation on car has increased, I could not able to buy car because my purchasing power has declined due to increase in taxes. So how this ability to work is declined due to the increase in taxes, and this ability to work is going to impact on the production on in a country as a whole. When the aggregate demand has declined, if the aggregate demand declines means why the aggregate demand is declines in the economy, because of people's ability to consume has declined. Why the ability to consume has declined? Because of ability to work has declined. When I'm not working more, because if I work more, I will earn more, and that will affect my income because of high taxation. And secondly, when the taxation increases, my disposable income is also going to decline. Then why I need to work more? Then it will also leads to reduce the buying capacity and aggregate demand. So increase in taxes leads to decline in the ability to work or deteriorate the ability to work, and that leads to reduce the disposable income of the people. Buying capacity will comes down, consumption expenditure will comes down. Obviously, when the aggregate, obviously all this, the declining path will leads to reduce the aggregate demand. Aggregate demand means the overall demand of the country. When the aggregate demand is comes down, there is a possibility of reducing the production by the producers in the economy, because there is no aggregate demand for whom they are going to produce. So it will automatically affect the production because there is no demand in the market. So the effects of taxation immediately affect the ability to work of the people, so that the aggregate demand will decline, that leads to decline the production processes. That is a negative impact on the decline, increase in the taxation. Suppose we can ask, sir, sometimes the government is providing tax relaxation for corporates, tax relaxation for middle class people, income earners, tax revision for the small earners. That even yesterday one student have told, sir, GST has for minimum 20 lakhs rupees business. Yes, but for the small business, they're giving this relaxation in taxes, indirect taxes. So will it be affect? No. When the tax rates are revised, reduced, that will give a positive impact for the promotion of ability to work and promotion of increase in aggregate demand, so that the production will be enhanced. So if in the beginning, or when they imposing the taxes, definitely there will be a negative impact on the economy. And we have also evidence based on the live example of our GST. The students, you are following with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. When the GST was implemented, what was the economic situation during the time? Anyone can tell, aware that when the GST was introduced?
Sir, that time the economy was in good condition. I mean, GDP and all, there was good growth.
What was the employment rate, you know?
No, sir. No.
Because GDP is not measured on the basis of tax collection. GDP is measured on the basis of the goods and services produced in a country. When the tax rates are increased for the raw materials, will all the people will produce more? Yes or no?
No, sir.
No, because when the GST regime was implemented, even though it is a good and prosperous for the economy, but immediate effect where it is reflected on textile industry. It is immediately reflected on automobile industry. Because of the GST, still the automobile industry could not able to come up, because it has a long-term perspective. GST is a good because the government aims to bring it into a one nutshell, so that every commodities has been promptly and formally it has been taxed without any deviations. That is a good objective. But when they're imposing it, because people are new to the GST, previously they are used to have bad taxes, now they are new to the GST. When GST comes, it will create one fear in the among the producers, so that they stopped producing. I mean, they reduced the production, because their ability to pay taxes has suddenly it has increased. Before it was some 10%, now it has become 18%. Before it was some 12%, now it has become 28%. Obviously, it will, when it is imposed, the immediate effect will be there. That is why it reduced the ability to work. And any taxation for that matter, even if the income tax increases, that is also affect the people ability to work, people ability to consume. If the income tax increases, that will enhance ability. If the income tax increased from 10% to 20%, what will happen to your buying capacity?
Decreases.
It will decline. So like that, the producer also will think, when the raw material cost is increasing due to the increase in taxes, obviously they could not able to pay more taxes as compared with the previous production. And moreover, where the taxation will going to hit, it is going to hit the net prices of the commodity after the production. And when the net product price has increased in the market due to the implementation of higher taxes, people's demand will decline. If the demand for the commodity has declined, will I produce more?
No, sir.
No, sir.
That is also an indirect impact, because that market will set right. Anyway, it will, in the long run, market will set right. People is going to get more income because of the tax collected money has to be going to invested in public projects, because the collection of GST, for example, I'm saying the collection of GST is in a long term perspective, it is going to invested in the public projects only. So when it invested in public projects, the government expenditure increases, then automatically it will create new employment opportunities. For that purpose only, the government is collecting taxes. That in that angle it is good, but that is in the long term, long run. But in the short run, whenever the imposition of the taxation, it will impact on ability to work, so that it will affect the production. And the next one, in the production itself, the effect of taxation on the ability to save. Because of the higher taxation, I have to spend more, because when I want to buy a commodity, previously I used 100 rupees to buy the commodity. Now because of the increase in the taxation, I have to buy 120 rupees as to pay to consume the same commodity. In that case, I am spending more. When I am spending more, my income is constant. What will happen to my savings?
Lesser savings.
Savings will be the constant, or it will decline?
Lesser savings, sir.
Lesser saving, because the function of consumption is saying the consumption, the total income minus consumption is equal to savings. When the income remains constant, but the consumption expenditure increases, my consumption is not increases. You have to clearly understand this one. My level of consumption is not increased. Sometimes if my level of consumption increase, that may affect decline in saving. But here the problem is my income remains constant and my consumption level is constant, but my consumption expenditure has enhanced because of that my ability to save will decline. In such manner, when whole economy is having the problem of decline in savings, that leads to reduce the investment, because all the savings will be converted into
Investment.
investment. So obviously, when savings drops, investment also will drop, because what I save, that will be an investment for somebody else, and when somebody invests, that will become income of employment and income of some other people. When the income of some other people will generate a new aggregate demand in the economy, likewise the chain effect will happen in the macroeconomic perspective. So the moment the taxation has been imposed, that will definitely impact the ability to work, ability to save, and ability to invest. So consumption also will decline, savings also will decline, investment level also will decline due to the higher taxation. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So these are all interconnected. What are all the variables are interconnected? We are showing only saving, investment, and ability to work, or ability to pay, or we can also say it is a consumption expenditure. When we are seeing into the macroeconomic perspective, the various macroeconomic variables involved in the taxation, because the taxation itself one of the macroeconomic variable, because the correction is happening on the fiscal measure like taxation, that will impact immediately on various other macroeconomic variables such as employment, income, I mean aggregate income, aggregate consumption, aggregate investment, aggregate savings, then the money flow. When the interest rate increase, what will be the money supply? Can anyone tell me what is money supply?
Sir, amount of money in circulation.
We should not use the word amount. We can use quantity of money.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Quantity of money circulated in the economy. Fine. The quantity of money circulated in the economy will decline, or it will increase when the government is imposing more taxes. Can you able to associate between these two? Tax rate
Decrease, sir.
and,
Decrease.
Decrease.
which one will decline?
Money.
Money
Supply of money.
Supply of money or money supply will decline. Why?
Sir, because people will not spend money more.
People could not able to hold the money. When I'm having 1 lakh, the government is saying don't keep 1 lakh. You have to pay taxes to the government. And when you spend more, you have to pay more. That means that money will goes back to the government. You cannot able to keep the money. And moreover, when I'm earning, I have to pay more to the taxes, so that my holding capacity, that M1 will reduce, so that automatically the money supply in the market, in the economy will decline. And that is also one of the impact of taxation. So the taxation will impact on the money supply also. When the money supply declines, now you tell me what will be my aggregate demand? I mean the aggregate demand of the whole economy. when money supply declines? When money supply declines, what would be the aggregate demand of the economy for goods and services?
That also declines.
That is also will decline. When the aggregate demand declines, automatically it will ends up with the reducing the ability to pay, ability to save, and ability to invest. And the investors, I'm talking about the consumers. In the same way, we have investors in the economy. The investors also will have the same kind of problem when the tax rates are increased. So that is what we all argue, that we don't want to go for more taxation or lesser taxation. We have to attain an optimum taxation system. When it is the taxation rate is optimum, obviously it will not affect both the government and the common people. So it will have some sustainability in the economy. So many of the macroeconomic variables can be affected due to taxation. And one more information also I'll tell you. The taxation is one of the important element or determinator in correcting the money supply, correcting the stabilization, or to stabilize the economy. If the government wants to stabilize the economy, they can use this taxation is one of the important tool. It is a fiscal tool. How we have monetary tools, various monetary tools we have discussed in the previous class. No, I mean the some classes we have discussed. No, what are the instruments of monetary policy?
Bank rate policy, repo rate, etc.
Open
Yeah.
market operations.
Yes, very good. These are all the instruments of monetary policy. Whereas if you see this instrument of fiscal policy is the taxation. So either the increase in taxation also will help the economy to stabilize, help the government to stabilize the economy, and decline in the taxation also will help the economy, government to stabilize the economy. Okay, then now we can also ask, sir, when the government has to increase the taxation, when the government has to decline the taxation? Can anyone have an answer? Anybody? When the government has to increase the taxes and when they have to decline the taxes? Okay.
Sir, if
Yes, please.
sir, when people's standard of living and all are increasing and all, if that time the government increases taxes, then it may not affect the people that much. And when there is recession and all, the government must reduce the taxes.
Okay. And now I'll ask you, what is the objective of the government?
So to bring, to collect the taxes and
No. In generally we'll talk about. Then we'll narrow down to fiscal policy.
the welfare of the people.
Welfare of the people. That is one objective. Suppose if the prices of the goods and services is so high, inflation is there. That is the good condition for all the sections of the society?
No, sir.
No. Now, what is the government role here?
So they must either reduce the taxes or control the prices.
Either they can use the taxation is one of the tool to stabilize the price rates. I mean the price of the goods and services. On the other hand, the government also having the certain roles to equate the people's welfare, so that if the price is so high, only the higher income people can able to consume the commodities. Low income people could not able to access into that particular commodity. So that the government role is to, when we stabilize the prices through taxation or providing some subsidy so that we can able to equate the people's welfare. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, as you told, the government aim is to stabilize the economy. Yes, correct. How they are going to stabilize the economy when the inflation rates are high, when the peoples are having so much of money supply, the M1 is so high, M2 is so high, then the government wants to take the money from people. They want to attract more money fluctuations, money floating from the people to the government hand. How they can use? Either they can use monetary policy, or else they can also use this taxation policy. In that manner, how this taxation policies is going to affect? One group of people has been affected because of increase in taxation, and another group of people is benefited due to the taxation. In that manner only, the government has to focus on the stabilization of various parameters in the economy. Then it will be the impact will be greater than the loss. How we can measure? We used to measure the cost benefit analysis. No, because of certain increase in taxes, if the benefit is also increases simultaneously, when cost is equal to benefit, the amount of money I spend, the amount of money is charged from the people has been equally has to be benefited to the other sections of the society, so that the total welfare can be achieved. And this welfare criterion you also going to in case if you are studying PG economics, the advanced economics in welfare criterion, you may study in detail about how the welfare criterion has been achieved by imposition of taxes and by providing subsidies to the people. And the theory called Piguin theory is there, and Bernoulli theory is there. So that is little advanced level. Fine. So when the government is imposing taxation, that will immediately affect on the ability to save, consume, and invest. That is what we are derived from this analysis. Is it clear? Any questions? If you want to ask, you can ask me, please.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, can you please once again explain the taxes in relation with inflation?
Inflation. Taxes in relation to inflation. Suppose if the economy is having if the people is having so much of money, how we can going to control this money supply? In sometimes if they want to control the money supply, they want to take the money from the people to reduce the purchasing power. Suppose all people are having so much of money, bank is giving a very lesser rate of interest, money is floating in the economy like anything, so that the government can use this tax as a tool to take the money more from the people and charge more taxes, so that the money will move to government. That is one side of attracting the money from people to government through increasing the taxation. Suppose on the other hand, if there is any inflation is arising in the economy, inflation, so super inflation is there. We have various types of inflation. I mean, this according to the speed, walking inflation, running inflation, then walking, running, creeping, and galloping inflation. Suppose if the economy is having galloping inflation, so that the government role is to control that inflation. When they want to control that inflation to protect the common people, by the time the government has to reduce the taxes, because if they reduce the taxes, the price will be somewhat controlled through the fiscal measures. And we have other monetary measures as well. For example, suppose if the prices are going up, so they can, instead of having lesser interest rate, they will increase the interest rate so that people won't spend on goods and services. They will save if the interest rate is more. And on the other hand, when the interest rate is high for credits, loans, people unnecessarily don't take bank loan for consumption and investment purposes, so that the flowing of money will be controlled. That is through monetary measures. On the other hand, if it is a fiscal measure, the government during the inflationary time, the tax rates will be somewhat reduced to reduce the prices of goods and services. If the prices are so high, it will be affecting the economy, because some people can able to buy the commodity, but some sections of the people could not able to access into that commodity. By the time, they will reduce the taxation during the inflationary time. So if there is an inflation, I mean very high inflation, taxes will come down. I mean, it will not automatically come down. It is not the market mechanism. The government will do the adjustment process. And in case if the prices are very less, I mean, the deflation is happening, by the time the government will add more taxes to equate the price stability. So inflation, tax will come down. Deflation, tax will be imposed. That is the relation. You got it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good. Any other question? We'll move on to the next one. We'll move on to the effects of distribution on effects of
Yes, sir. Yes.
yes, we are going to move into effects of taxation on consumption and distribution. So the consumption and distribution. Consumption, it's almost we have discussed, because the ability to work is almost equal to consumption. The effects of taxation on distribution. The effect of taxes on distribution is primarily based on the nature of the taxes or the tax rate is levied. Then it is also depends upon the kinds of taxes. Sir, before we are moving into the dependent variable of these two, we first understand what is the distribution. What is mean by distribution in economics? What do you mean by distribution in economics? Hello? Sanjay? Yes, Gerard. Gerard, yes.
Sir, is it a distribution of income?
Anything, either distribution of income, distribution of wealth, distribution of goods and services, distribution of commodities, all comes together. Yes, tell me.
Sir, it's like allocation, division, and all.
Allocation of the resources. That is all the other names of the distribution in economics. I'm just asking what is the meaning of distribution in economics? Yes, what you told is correct. What both you told is correct. How will you distribute? Okay, I'll give you clues. We have factors of production, right?
So in the form of wages, rent, profit,
Yes, very good, Karen.
interest.
Yes, perfect. That's what I am trying to give the clue. through factors of production. The distribution of income or distribution of the goods and services, or the distribution of money or wealth, or the monetary system, anything, any distribution in the economy has been rooted through these four elements. One is wages, second one interest, third one rent, and fourth one is a profit. This is what the distribution theory says about. You got it, students? Everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very good. So while we are distributing this wages, rent, interest, profit, that has to be appropriately has to be distributed. That distribution has been possible through general equilibrium and partial equilibrium. When we are talking about the partial equilibrium, that will be distributed with the individuals. For example, I'm having one small firm. I'm employing some land. I'm occupying some land so that I'm paying some 5,000 rupees as rent for the production process. And in that land, I'm using 2 laborers and I'm paying wages of each labor 500 rupees a day. See, that money what I have has been distributed between one person to another person. This is the partial equilibrium where our demand and supply, whatever it may be a goods demand and supply between the goods and services, or demand and supply between the labor force, labor demand and labor supply, or the demand for wage, demand for loans or supply of loans. Loans what will pay? Capital what will pay? Capital what will pay? What is the
Interest.
interest? How interest will be determined? How the interest will be determined?
By the demand, sir.
Demand of what?
Demand of the capital assets.
Demand for money and supply of money. So the demand for money and supply of money, where it is equilibrium, there we'll find the equilibrium interest rate. So all these things are determined to distribute the money in a micro level. That is called as partial equilibrium, what we call it as partial equilibrium. When we talk about the general equilibrium, there we study the distribution of money income or distribution of wealth, distribution of these goods and services has been done through across the country. Across the country, what is the wages? Across the country, what is the income? Across the country, what is the interest rate? Across the country, what is the profit earned by the investors? These are all will measure the how much the distribution is happening in the economy. This distribution of income or distribution of wages, distribution of rent is going to affect through taxation. Got it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. So the effects of distribution. Now we are going to see what are the determinants of this distribution of taxation. First, we have discussed what is distribution, what is because of the tax, how the distribution is going to affect. A distribution is the amount of money or wealth is being distributed among the people through the payment for land labor capital organization, and this distribution is going to affect because of the taxation. And when it is affecting, it requires certain determining factors. What are those factors? First one is nature of the tax or the tax rates. And second one, what kind of tax we are imposing, the government is imposing. And the first one, which talks about the tax rates. Tax rates, maybe it is normally the average tax rate is imposed by the government for wages, I mean income, rent, on the income on taxes on interest received from capital gains. On these elements, how much tax rate is going to impose? If the tax rate is some 10%, then it will be in equilibrium. Suppose the tax to be collected from these distribution, money wealth distribution, if it is increases, automatically it will shrink the distribution. How it is going to shrink the distribution? If the taxes on production of the commodities, tax rates on production of goods and services increases, I could not able to produce more goods. When I could not able to produce more goods means I am not interested to invest more. When I am not investing more, that will reduce the distribution of money income for other people who is providing the land, labor, capital and organization. So the distribution of income, distribution of goods and services will be affected due to the taxation of the government. That is one part about the revised tax rates. And sometimes the nature of the taxes, I mean the kind of taxes, whether sometimes what will happen for goods and services, tax will remains constant, but the taxes on income will increase. Taxes on interest will increase because we have 4 different distribution channels. The money income can be distributed through rent. Money income can be distributed through wages. If the government is keeping the other 3 distribution channels, taxation is kept constant. If wages are increased, then there also the ability to work will decline. The ability to work of the people will decline because of the direct taxes are increased. So the kind of taxes will also decrease the distribution. And if you're talking about the distribution of goods and services, there also, if the imposition of the indirect taxes will affect the distribution of goods and services. And first it will affect the distribution, and second one, it will also not, it is not going to stop with the distribution itself, because if the distribution is coming down, it is also immediately reflect on the other macroeconomic variable called the production of the whole country. Aggregate supply will come down. If the aggregate supply will come down, means it will always create the further chain reflection on other variables. So the effects of distribution depends upon increase in the rate of taxation and the kind of taxation has been imposed. You got the point? Can I repeat? We have 4 more minutes. If you have any questions, you can ask before we are moving into the effects of taxation on consumption and employment. because all these effects on consumption, distribution, and effect on production are interlinked. Is any question, Sanjay?
No, sir, no question.
Bhavana, Karen, Gerald, Shantakumari,
No,
sir, no questions.
No, sir.
others? Okay, so effects of taxation on production, distribution. Now we are going to check what is going to happen in consumption. That is, you itself can now you're going to answer. You can answer. If the tax rates are increased, because of the tax rates, when production has declined because of the raw material cost increases, because of the other channels of distribution has increased, because of this reasons, production has comes down, distribution has comes down. What will happen to the consumption?
sir, consumption decreases.
Consumption will also declines, and we all know when the taxes imposed on raw materials, who ultimately pay the tax?
Sir,
End
consumer.
consumers.
Yes, end consumer. Even though in the immediate impact is happening with the producer, and it can be shifted to the wholesaler and retailer. Ultimately, whatever the taxes is imposed on any commodity or raw material for the production process, and finally it is going to place in the head of the consumers. And obviously the increase in taxation will impact negatively on the reduction of consumption. I mean, it reflected in the reduction of consumption. Okay, that is all we well known, because of we know the chain reactions, how it is going to affect the consumption. How it will impact on employment?
So when production increases, it will affect the employment.
When production declines, what production? Individual production or aggregate production?
Sir, aggregate production.
Yes, aggregate production declines and the aggregate distribution declines. Obviously, there will be a less investment. If there is a less investment, there is no opportunity for generation of employment. So obviously, the increase in taxes on raw materials, increase in taxes on income, increase in taxes on various production inputs, it will reduce the level of investment. And because of reduced investment, either for both existing investor and the new investors also will not come for startups, so that obviously that will affect the employment opportunities in the economy. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So
Yes,
after this, we'll stop here. We can continue in the next class. Thank you, students. All the best.
Thank you, sir.